Today is September 8th, 2021. 55 years of Star Trek. Happy birthday, Star Trek. Happy anniversary, Star Trek. Star Trek. Engage. Spock. We'll have to bring Marx cards in here tomorrow and do a making of thingy behind the scenes about Marx cards discussing the 55th anniversary. It'll be a day late, but it's always a dollar short. I have discussed a little bit of it on here, so I'll let him talk. Now, we're going to go on to do some actual opening scene test footage on Starship Chimera, the Great Tribble Hunt. Better known as Wunderkind behind the scenes. Okay, yeah. Strange Worlds begins immediately. And much for the crew of the Starship Chimera. Happy 55th birthday, Star Trek. And much to the crew of the Starship Chimera. Happy 55th birthday, Star Trek. Much to the crew of the Starship Chimera. Happy 55th birthday, Star Trek. Dun, 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 dun. I have not started to watch the podcast yet. But I decided to put out the teaser. It is hot up here. It's really hot up here. But I did manage to put the teaser in the can here. So, yeah, there's a Calicat directed episode. Other ones will be directed by the other cast from the Trans Tech. Mush, Cowpoke, Morton Roadkill, Marlo Faki, some others in there. Silly Kelly. The other 7 episodes. We have... the credits, we haven't worked out the credits or the music, but I'm sure the minimalistic composer Kitty Key will return and do the musical score just like the last one. And I'm sure this new series has a slightly different theme. It might sound different. Might be more strange, more bombastic, maybe. More comical, too, because the pilot is very much a David Gerrold script idea. The Tribble planet, the Tribble Queen, the Cyrano and Koath exchanging barbs, that kind of thing with the captain. That version, it was Kirk and Spock and McCoy, but in this version we have sort of our surrogate Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, our sort of surrogate characters. We have Crass, who's the sort of angry, snarky one. We have Dr. Tabby, who's sort of kind of similar, sarcastic, bedside manner. We have Tendi, who's visiting from Lower Decks, and it's not actually Nicole Wells, which is it's one of our people. It's not really her, but it's a Janeway, and she's and it's 20 years later, so she's to her. So in the story, so she's not the same person that you knew 20 years ago. There's numerous other characters and nods and things on this set. We have, okay, we have these guys over here. Well, we have Kiriyoshi O'Brien and Alexander Shenko. We have this is some of the other ones over here. We have Molly O'Brien, and we have a Talaxian. I don't know if any lines, but he's a Talaxian. And that's Jeremy Astor. In the back, as a gag, we've got Calicat and Marx Cards. And Marx Cards is chatting up Meryl Paris, which would never happen. But it's funny, because sure, why not? We have Tendi, we have Crash, ooh, yeah. Honey, yeah, another one's in the Cedo promotion. Very typical of Next Generation. Our teaser, a lot of fun. They all gel well, if not like overly well together. They did such a good job. They were just, it just fell right back into it. Like, oh, this is just a little hat. So let's just, yeah. So it's like, we just want to do these things, these free fan films. As you can see, the set is, here's the little office thing. I think she only uses her office in the pilot. So we'll do all the other bridge scenes since the bridge is up, and then do the other scenes. We'll do the other bridge scenes, and then go back and do the rest. I think that's what we're gonna do. Here we have Tam and Kestra. They have been repainted, mainly the legs, because the paint was flaking off. Also, the call letters are on the ships. The Emmett Till is actually the Emmett Till A. It's not the Egina ship. It's the sequel. It's a flare one. Chimera is the Chimera A. Emmett Till. It's said on the Emmett Till that it is Tubman class. Because Emmett Till was the first martyr of the civil rights movement thing indirectly in Mississippi. And then that sparked it in the 50s. But actually, Harriet Tubman, 90 years earlier, was technically the beginning of that, like the end of the Civil War. So you could, yeah. So yeah, I like the idea of that working, if it's explained. And Ira Bear using that ship that was designed originally for the 8th season that never happened. But yeah, I'll turn it around. I do want to put Lower Decks on the thing. Tomorrow there's a new episode of Lower Decks. I also want to get Mark's Card's views on the thing when he comes over on the anniversary. So tomorrow we had to recast Picard and Crass because Mark's Cards is not available to do the filming of these episodes because that would just take too long. And yeah, it's got a cameo somewhere in there. But yeah, there were a few dialogue changes here and there, but pretty much the teaser is the same. Some of it flowed better with some lines being said by different characters than what's in the script. It works in the script fine, but it works better the way it was done here. As a visual story. When you put something, the director changes some things because sometimes it's just a little off. There was a Reddit thing on the Emmett Till. They were complaining about the ship thing, not understanding how the aliens would talk about it. I think it's fine. That'll work. Okay. Sort of, just so nobody runs into it. The What We Left Behind was a Deep Space Nine special. I've already gone over that a little bit elsewhere. The Deep Space Nine special, they made up a premise for a pilot for an 8th season. They basically messed with all the characters, even though it was the creators of the show, and kind of messed it up. They made Molly O'Brien a commander, which didn't make sense. They made Kiriyoshi some kind of angry officer, and it would be the other way around. They made Dax married to Bashir, which doesn't make any sense. They killed Nog in the opening scene on the Defiant, which really doesn't make any sense, because then how would he be famous later? Then Aaron Eisenberg, ironically, had actually died of kidney failure. He had issues with his kidneys all his life. The guy who played Nog. Even though before he died, he did say, "Why did they kill my character?" He get mad about that. That's funny. That story. But no, they didn't. In all other fan canon, no, Nog lives on beyond Eisenberg. He did some Star Trek, the online game, and he played an older version of himself in command of the Chimera class destroyer. And all of that. And I have talked to some of the people who did Star Trek Online. So Chimera is definitely, they were thinking us. because the Chimera fan film was around since the concept of the fan film started in 2006. So some of those people went on to start Star Trek Online and go on since there, and they figured Chimera is a Star Trek canon ship, right? No, it was a fan ship, but that's awesome. So, like many other fan ships, our ship is in there. Excalibur's in there too from their sister ships. So that's cool. So we have an Excalibur in there. Even though that one didn't take off, ours did. 13 years later, we finished it, and it came out in 2019, around the same time What Left Behind came out. A little earlier than that, actually. A little earlier than that, yeah. So What We Left Behind. And the Star Trek Destiny novels from 10 years before that. Those had the Aventine Dax, and the Chimera story was attempting to show us what it would be like just before the Aventine Dax. So it would be like Dax, his first officer on a ship, the Chimera. We set her up with Nick Locarno. It made perfect sense at the time. A redeemed Nick Locarno. This story takes place 16 years later. It's not 2388 anymore. It's now 2402. The events of Star Trek Picard Seasons 1 and 2 have happened at this point. And so we have the 1 and 2. Even though I don't know how Season 2 goes, don't ask. I don't know how it happened. It hasn't come out yet. And even if I did, I wouldn't give it away. But I don't. I know that it has something to do with the Chimera and the crew. But yes. Again, we didn't get paid. So the Emmett Till was a ship that was going to be named after Emmett Till, who, according to history, was a little boy, a black boy, who happened to have been killed and martyred in Mississippi, I think it was, and accused of a crime he didn't commit, and then killed. It was the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement, in a sense, the modern Civil Rights Movement from the 60s. So, no kitty. No. So, anyway, the modern Civil Rights Movement from the 60s, and they named the ship after this John Eves ship. I wanted the fan ship not to quite look like that because, 20% different, 25% different, so that it didn't quite look like that, but it has some similarities. I'll go into the ships later, and all is said and done. The presence of different Chimera ships is known all over the net. 16 years later, there's a Chimera B, or Chimera A. They're going on a mission through space. Cat, and the cat. And so the ship was named after him until it freaked out a bunch of the alt-right people. Indirectly, it led to the alt-right people complaining about their Confederate statues being wrecked, so they went and wrecked the Emmett Till stuff down in Mississippi. Of course they did, because they're racist, stupid. But of course they did. To get even, it's like, you guys really, yeah, no, it doesn't help. I called this version of the ship. This is a Tubman class after Harriet Tubman, a Civil War person who hid the slaves in the Underground Railroad. They were escaping and stuff. Unlike the movie Tubman, which they kind of embellished and made kind of goofy and added romances and gunplay that wasn't really there, and made her a badass, sort of. I don't think she ran around doing that. It was more like she ran around in secret getting people out than it was, I'm a fighter and have fight, like literally like fighting, like a hunter. No, she wasn't a hunter. That doesn't make sense. So yeah, Emmett Till. So this ship is the Till A. It's named after the other one. We don't know what happened to the other one, the John Eves one. and assuming the Chimera was lost in 2397. At some point, lost or decommissioned, presumably lost, and it could have been accidentally Mahoney's fault. That'd be funny, but yeah, I figure the other ships in the Tubman class, which is more appropriate, are other civil rights leaders. So there's a Harriet Tubman, the main class ship. There's a Martin Luther King. There's a ship. There's two versions of that one. The Martin Luther King is a battleship, and another one, a dreadnought. They're more like a dreadnought. They're a dreadnought. Yeah. So they have slipstream drive, and they're really powerful. And yeah, they have all kinds of nacelles and stuff. Ooh, yeah. I don't want to show off the ships, though. I don't want to ramble on for 20 more minutes and waste tape. I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, that's pretty much... Yeah, so we included civil rights people as ships. And it makes sense. Even though there was a Reddit thing about them saying, like, okay, this doesn't make sense, because how would you explain it to an alien, a martyr thing, and a civil rights thing, and how would you explain that to the alien? Well, you could explain it to the alien, because most of the aliens in Star Trek are reflections of people from an Earth culture. So what you would say to the alien is that they were a martyr or a great leader to a cause or whatnot, and on a planet that had issues. And unfortunately, yeah, that's enough to explain that. So I see no problem with that. That makes sense. It makes sense to the Klingons, certainly. They would know what that is. Be like, yes, warrior and Stobokor. The Vulcans would all, which is perfectly logical. The Cardassians probably wouldn't so much, because they're kind of fascist. They'd be all, no, we don't have any leaders like that. I don't idolize bad guys. Bajorans would understand it more than the other ones would, which are Bajorans, because they're modeled after several refugee groups of that time period. So yeah. Assuming that within Star Trek canon, one of these ships is the Gabriel Bell from Deep Space Nine. It's probably that character from that. He's probably mentioned there too. Deep Space Nine, who looked like Cisco. Because of the time travel in that episode. So, yeah. Q only appeared once on Deep Space Nine. Yeah, so what we left behind was kind of a mess, and I fixed it. So this 7-parter fixes it and says, like, oh, no. Ezra Dax is not married to Bashir. But there is a presence of Bashir on the set, because we have this guy. We have Kiriyoshi O'Brien, James Siddig. Allegedly. It's not really him. It's not the son of Bashir and Kira from the episode that they had to hide the fact that Kira and Bashir were one item and they had a kid. They got married. I should have mentioned that last time. They did get married. They were married. I don't know if they're still married, but probably they have a kid who's he'd be an adult. He'd be in his 30s. So here is Kiriyoshi O'Brien. Yeah, as a Bashir figure. So this basically hits the nail on the head, obviously, and says, like, oh yeah, there's a reason this guy looks just like Julian Bashir. Kiriyoshi actually is Bashir's kid with Kira. And it was never Keiko O'Brien's, but the Bryans raised him. It never was. Elsa, yeah. Also, I added a scene which is addressed later in the story when she talks to Paris. Dax mentions Tam and gender fluidity, and they refer to her as them, not he or she, just to be relevant to the whole gender fluid thing. I referenced that in there in the teaser. Like, yes, they're going to go. But it's not treated as a gimmick or a MacGuffin or something, and it doesn't come up much. But yeah, the Tamara Locarno, Dax's daughter, is apparently transgendered, and yeah, it goes by them. They sort of like Tao, and speaking of Tao, we can go into a little bit of that. Yeah, Tao. Yeah. Where is he? Okay, and yeah. There's what's his face? Where is that? cheeky bastard. There he is. So on Discovery Season 3, you notice there was a Cal. It was an alien. He appeared twice. Of course there was. Of course there was. Yes. And then there was a Sue Cal at the end. That appeared 3 times. So, but there was a car called Tao. There's this little Muppet sort of pixie girl who was also gender fluid. She goes by them or she. And her space boyfriend Ghost, friend Tam. There's Tal and Tam. Another Tam, a later one. When she went to the Trill planet, because she's a Trill, she went to the Trill planet to figure out. Well, she's a human with a Trill inside her. She went to the planet and she met up with a Trill, and they opened her mind. She could see the other versions of her, and there's a 700 years ago version of her that's wearing a Picard era outfit, and he's a black guy. He looks a little like Cisco. So dressed up this here Cisco. This is Javon Tal. This is Tal's ancestor from 700 years earlier, older than Dax, and that's because they're on a generation ship and they were there for 100 years. So there's like, she's probably the same age as Dax, but they were in hibernation. And here's Tal, and he appears in some of the episodes of the series, including pilot. And he is a Trill, and he has the symbiote that will become Tal in the future. Javan Tal and Indira Tal in the future. So that's who this is supposed to be. So there he is. There he is. Oh, this guy's gonna. So at one point, she was a beefy black man. Well, that explains a few things. House explains how she might be envious. What? It is an error of logic to assume that because I happen to be of African American descent, that I would have a large member. However, the rumors are true. But I will not show that because that would be R-rated. I won't do that. No members coming out. I'm gonna go now. Ew, no members coming out. Just kidding. However, as Alexander Rashenko, son of Worf, I will whip my member out. No, I am also kidding. I will whip it out. Oh my god. The helm console. It's falling over. No. Anyway, so I probably rambled on a little too long, but not too badly. Anyway, so the Emmett Till, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of Jomny's inspiration in those 2 ships. Yep. I'll just take it over here for a second. Okay. Now here we have the Chimera. And the Trek Guards people can drool over this really, really brief shot here with the Chimera. It has slipstream drive. And it has, so does this one. They both have slipstream drive. That one does too. And it has warp engines here, dual warp engines with slipstream louvers. And it has on top mini warp engines for when the saucer separates and it goes flying off with the so it can go anywhere it wants to. It's not just impulse power, it can go warp. It has giant photon guns on the front of it, so it's a battleship of some kind. It is a Chimera. It's the Adventure class. Adventure class. Adventure. So it's Aventine. It's the Aventine, basically. Yeah. So it's the Aventine. But yeah. This is completely throwing the scale off these two on the whole. So here we have. Ooh, I farted. So here we have the Emmett Till Also a battleship. It looks like there are 3 nacelles. There aren't. This is a double one. So technically it is the rule of 3s. It has dual nacelles on either side, and it has a double up here. So when it separates, it becomes this little manta ray fish thing. Flies off. So yeah, it's the rules of 3s, but I stuck a third, like I made it an inline thing similar to this one. They're almost a similar class. They have similar construction. And I ended up building these, and then they just got bigger and bigger until, yeah, it got ridiculous. Anyway, so that's my ships here. The ships, which we'll look over later. But that's a cursory evaluation of the Emmett Till 2277A. On the Chimera 82405A. The bridge is not on the bottom. The bridge is on the top. The bridge is in here under this level. I think it's one level below the level, actually. It's armored. This one's armored up more, and the bridge is actually down on the first level, and then there's this thing above it. Storage, cargo bay kind of thing. So yeah, your impulse deck follows all the conventions of a Star Trek ship, really. Yeah, so yeah. Going around, there's impulse, lots of impulse engines. This one's over here. Boing. Yeah, 2 shuttle bays here and here, and down there. 3 shuttle bays. This one 2. Those are your shuttle bays, and down there. And I think there's one in the front too, under the deflector dish, or above the deflector dish. That's a cool idea because it's like protected. Yeah, so it'd be like if your fighter ships wanted to get away, they could just go. And also, they kind of resemble the a modern version of the Josh Braun from Starcrackers and the Zuri ship from Starcrackers. As though they were modern. That's what I was thinking of. If that had solar sails. This one didn't. They're not. They just... There's the little windows. It's kind of hard to tell the scale, but... Yeah. I think they're somewhere slightly smaller than Galaxy class, but larger than the Enterprise C, probably. That one is bigger than the Galaxy class. So yeah, somewhere around there. So I'm guessing. So they are bigger than the original Chimera, which was about the size of the classic Enterprise, or sometimes the Voyager, depending on what's going on. Because sometimes it wasn't. Yeah, it's unclear as to... Yeah, sizes didn't matter with the Abrams stuffs. Yeah. And cat. Meow. Hi, cat. And other cat. Meow. Anyway, so yeah. So when you get around to the Chimera theme, it should be a combination of Prodigy and Lower Decks, but a little more similar to the bombastic, weird next gen alternate theme. Dun 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 something like that. Yeah, something like that. But a little more. Yeah, a little more or more of that. Just thought I'd put that in there whenever you get around it. That's something like Orville. Yeah. So yeah, that was just an idea. that. Yeah. Something like that, so it's not exactly a Star Trek theme. It's sort of backward. Yeah. This is going to be a... That's not actually action. This is the part of the meeting room. The actual prop was too big, so it doubles as the ready room for the captain. And the actual ready room walls back there, and that's a Transformers floor. This is a new floor made for the thing because the older, crappier floors way back there were never used. And this just looks cooler. So, yeah, it looks cooler. It's got this sort of gloss to it. It looks like a, yeah. So, it's the 10th. And we're going to do a scene this evening. Yeah. Evening shoots like the Transformers is better. We've got the lamp from the Chimera set. The pseudo Pixar lamp. From, what is that from? The later Coco or something? Anyway. Yeah, so, one of those movies. Yeah, I don't think it's the one from, the other one, from Inside Out. It's the Coco one. Anyway, so yeah, let's see what we, let's block this and do this. We have basically a meeting room scene typical of Next Generation. There are no production marks in the script. So the director's prerogative, do whatever he wants. The first director for the first picture is Cal Cat, so do whatever he wants. There is a drawback to not putting in the director's marks, because it's going to be interesting trying to edit the video later, and I guess each scene just has to follow each scene, which means we can't jump ahead, because we won't know where the tapes are. So, yeah, here we go with this. And we have an opening scene. Let's do it. So, evening of September 11th. And we have introduction of our three really main cast members who pretty much carry the rest of the series after the pilot. Rashenko and Aster and Kiriyoshi, who are your away team members that go down to the planet. It doesn't mean that the main ones are killed off, it just means that they would be the ones who go down the planet for a lot of missions. In this story, we have, not really making of, I'm just telling you. In this story, they're introduced, not used as much. So yeah, I'm going to go over the scene beginning, this is Act 2. Page 16, and yeah, so this is the sort of the 10 forward lounge set. We have a data or a lore, so we have an android. We have one of the androids. We have what looks like a Q and an Odo. Over here we have Javantal, who looks like Cisco, chatting up Rolaren. It's not really Rolaren, it's supposed to be someone else. And we have Cat and Cards. Cat's right there, Cards are right there. They're just in the background. So let's start this and see if it doesn't completely screw it up. Opening scene here. Action. Sunday the 12th. Sunday the 12th. There's literally 3 minutes. Just to say that, yeah, we did some more and introduced us to the Edith Keeler figure who is Lynn Locarno. Yeah, this isn't really much of a making of. It's just, we wanted to just do the movie at this point. We gave you all the backstory, we're going to do the movie. brief thing about the other guy was dressed. Tam was dressed. So everything's in there. It's not like we can go over what's already there. It's kind of silly. But yeah, so that was them beaming down to the planet onto the bridge of the decimated ship. And yeah, so we'll find out more about the ship and stuff, but I don't think they go back to the bridge. So just the decimated ship, we found out the survivor there. And typical of classic Star Trek, that's what they would have done with like ships and sets. They would have just redressed stuff to make it look hacked. Yeah, so cool. Oh, yeah, that's it. I'm recording my space cat. Meow. Yes, cat, yeah? Yes. Yes, we had a day off because several other mitigating circumstances happened on the set, including my mother accidentally injuring her finger. But yes, anyway, so yeah, and then we had company earlier. The cast from On Location was here. Yeah, Erica and Johnny. So yeah, I started filming toward the evening here, and Erica's two sons. Anyway, so we are filming. Yeah, family members. Yeah, from the Patchen and Cook side, I guess. Anyway, so back to the story here. We're we are tonight's shot was all of the stellar cartography scene. It was split up into stellar cartography and a meeting room scene, and I thought that dynamically doesn't make sense for them to skip to the meeting room and then back to the meeting room. Just have the captain show up in stellar cartography. In a scene similar to Generations, there's a lot of Generations nods in this, and TNG nods. We have the bluegills. They're introduced on the planet, but here we have, yeah. So this making of footage for this section, now that we're rolling the movie, I would rather save all of the making footage at this point when we started actually shooting it for just before the movie comes out. So all that earlier preliminary stuff, yeah, that was fine to put in there. But I don't want to show the making of until the movie, because it's spoilers, and we don't want to give away stuff. So what was shot here was the part where we reintroduced the bluegills. They were a race introduced in the Next Generation. That were these little, the Riker called them bluegills. They were thornworm parasite things. They evolved into two other groups later on. The On Location Silly Trek group used elements of it for the Zildanian Nintendo, since that was referenced in our Silly Trek role-playing game as kids, and also turning some of our crew into cyborgs because we liked Terminator, and turning some of the other ones into the bluegill people. So the bluegill people and cyborgs before the Borg. We were a year before the Borg. We were doing that kind of thing. Probably thinking along the same lines as Star Trek. We were like, oh yeah, they're similar. The space colonies that were ripped up at the end of the neutral zone were implied to be some other group, the bluegill, after the bluegills. Originally, Next Generation, the making of TNG stuff later on, they established that they did indeed want to bring the bluegills back, the conspiracy parasites, but they couldn't figure out how to do it and have it like not just be puppets running around, so they couldn't do it. We're going to do it because we have Halloween things and tribbles and figures, and thought it would be like, how do you make, like tribbles from David Gerrold's script, some of them which become large, and we have a Koloth and Cyrano Jones in it. At this point in the script where pieces of the David Gerrold script are in here, but only pieces in the first act, and the second act is mainly copying elements of the script. But not verbatim at all. I've changed the words around. But yeah, there's a giant tribble queen like in the script. There's a giant like goofy stuff. We thought that the best thing would be to do with that would be that like the neural parasites take over the tribbles on the planet and animate them. So they turn them evil and make them all destructive and give them like appendages and stuff. to make them more Borg-like, so they're more Borg-like. Yeah, so what happened with Next Generation was that in the second season, they decided, let's reinvent the bluegills into, instead of parasites, they're cybernetic Borg things that go inside you and do the other. They didn't think of the nanite stuff until later. They knew there were nanite aliens and they were going to attack later in other episodes, but they didn't end up doing anything with that. But then in First Contact, after Next Generation was over, First Contact in 1996, they ran Next Gen and Deep Space Nine and Voyager together at the same time. Deep Space Nine started in 1993, I believe. Yeah, and, so near the end of Next Generation. So they had 2 crossovers, and Voyager started in 95, both in January, 93 January and 95 January. So they were during Next Generation. Next Generation ended in 94. Started in 87, ended in 94. Deep Space Nine was 93 to 99. Voyager was, 95 to 2001. 2001, around there. All 7 seasons. So we had Enterprise started immediately after that in 2001. So yeah, Enterprise. Which was a prequel. They were into prequels because Star Wars was doing prequels. That was the only reason. The Borg were sort of introduced there too, but it's retconned because of First Contact. In fact, all of everything after First Contact is technically a different timeline. Enterprise is technically a different timeline, so leading to the Abrams verse and all that, and Discovery and all that. So it's a different timeline. So everybody's saying, "Oh, it's the Abrams verse." It's technically the Enterprise verse, because it's considerably changed as a result of First Contact. Or you could go even further back and you could say Generations, when Picard and crew go to the Nexus and they're trapped and Kirk's in there and all that. Some of what's going on in the Nexus doesn't even really gel with canon. So you could say that all of Star Trek after Generations, with Picard in it at least, is all in the Nexus. And that all of it was like over there, and Picard never left, and he's still in the Nexus. But no, it's not really true. But anyway, so we have that's not what's going on. No, just kidding. But yeah, it does make it's because fans didn't want to have Kirk die dumb on the bridge. Just I know the space should have been on the Star Trek bridge, defending the ship. Bad guys. Actually, as Marx Cards pointed out about Generations, like you have time travel. Like Marx Cards pointed out, a major flaw in the whole series, which the fans didn't. Some other fans realized. Why didn't Picard just go, all right, let's go back to the beginning of this whole story. Let's go back to when Soren was about to be discovered on the planet and arrest him before he does anything at all. Then Kirk lives, Picard lives, the Enterprise D lives, everybody lives. Like, oh yeah, why didn't they just go down to the station and go like, oh, there's Soren, arrest him. You're going to find some tritium weapons on his person and get those and get them from him and stop him. So yeah, there's yeah, when you have time travel, you screw things up. So it's kind of what they're saying about that new Picard season, of which this is not canon with. Although, if you want to follow the canon with it, this is a little after the second season, Picard. So a little after. But we don't know what's going on with the Picard show yet. And even if we did, we couldn't reveal it in this. So you can watch this and wouldn't miss it. Also, the bluegills. So we made the bluegills nasty again. We basically said the bluegills neutrality. It's a retcon because like the Klingons' makeup keeps changing and stuff, and they keep saying, oh, did the augment virus make them more humanoid, and oh, Enterprise did that thing with the augment thing virus and all that, and made them more humanoid looking instead of just plastic surgery, like the Deep Space Nine finale, Deep Space Nine crossover suggested. It's just plastic surgery. It just made the Klingon look human, which makes more sense. Like the augment virus, let's convolute. No, they just altered him to look like a human, like they kind of did with Enterprise, and with Discovery. Yeah, they just altered him. That makes more sense. Yeah, why go into all that extra detail when you don't have to? Shit. So yeah, you have so bluegills, and the Klingons. It's just like, okay, well, we're kind of retconning that and saying let's make them come back. Well, they don't go after Starfleet. In this case, it's more like Star Trek V, and there's a god creature on the planet that wants to, in this case, a Tribble Queen, who wants to get off the planet with her children things, and escape, and kaiju thing wants to take over the universe. It does sound a little bit like the Suicide Squad with the giant starfish alien, but actually ours came first. Although the giant starfish alien was in the comic books in the 70s, we hadn't read them, so we didn't know. But yeah, the idea of a space queen wanting to invade, is basically Star Trek First Contact. So it all goes back to that. It's all the same thing. So it's a very next gen type of story, more so than a Deep Space Nine one. And although there have been some bloopers here and there, they've kind of been off camera. It's like there'll be a blooper, like somebody will fall over, like in this shoot here and there, and won't be filming it. I'll be like, oh, turn the camera away. I didn't see it. There aren't very many bloopers. Yeah, it's not as Deep Space Nine like as ours was back in the day. That one was more so. Yeah, so the Zeldanian Nintendo system. Yeah, this guy is actually the Barzan, but we don't have any Mad Mav. Ew. It's supposed to be a Mad Mav, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, so Barzan. Yeah, it's different so far. It seems to be working. Of course, we jinxed it when 2 days ago we said, "Oh, we're getting so close. Yeah, we're totally gonna like knock out the whole thing," and then suddenly, all for a day and a half, it slowed down to almost nothing. So yeah, so this is pretty strange. Anyway, we have sure, bluegills, space, Tendi knowing things. This scene with the captain and stuff. Okay, so what was he trying to explain with the with Odon Vex, who was the first Trill, Kira Odon, who was the first Trill introduced in the Host episode of Star Trek. What Next Generation did later with the symbiote idea, the Trill idea, was to invent a new race called the Trills and have the symbiote be part of the Trill species and not a parasite, but a host symbiotic relationship, kind of symbiotic relationship. So they reinvented them as the Trill, basically. And Odon looked considerably different than Dax. So when they introduced Dax 2 years later, she looked completely different than Odon. And originally it was going to be Odon that was going to be the Trill on the Chimera. It is said to be Odon in one of the versions of Cillian Universe, in Cillian Realms. It is her, not Dax. But here it's Dax. Because sure, why not? But they look different facially. They look different because they wanted Terry Farrell, who looked very pretty, to look like Terry Farrell. So that's why they changed it. It's the only reason. Yep, it's the only reason. But yeah, they didn't mind making Not a Visitor have a funny nose, but they did. Also pretty, but they didn't mind that. That was okay. But yeah, and then there's the Bashir thing. I think I've been over that though. The Bashir Kira thing. Oh yeah, I've been over that. So here we have characters. Yeah, the Trill, the Bluegills come back. Yay! And try to kind of do a First Contact parody. That's kind of what this is a little bit, but it's more of a spoof of it. In a way, I mean, there's a queen that's going to do stuff, but she's played by sort of a divine character, like the Divine from John Waters' Divine character. How divine! The filthiest person alive! Ah,
I want cha-cha heels. Ah. You know, I'm the filthiest person alive. Mr. Vader, do you see this? Exactly. So, from Pink Flamingos. But yes, I don't want to quote anything from Pink Flamingos, though, because, yeah, it's a little questionable. But yes, Trill. The trill of it all. Yeah, they used to make gag jokes about Deep Space Nine magazines. Oh, yes. And one or two have inquired over the years. What is the magazine that Calcat was actually in after the contest was over, in the writing contest? He's in one of the magazines, Star Trek magazine. Which one was it? It was called Star Trek Communicator, and it was one of the magazines after Star Trek magazine, Star Trek Fan Club magazine. It was called Star Trek Communicator for a while, and then it went back to being Star Trek Fan Club after that a little bit. But it was the one that had Kess as the Fury on the cover, because I thought somehow I was part of that, but I wasn't. It was that other one. Oh well. I didn't mistell them. They just thought I was part of that. So they just went with it. Now I did not write Fury. The Voyager script was called The Arbiter. The Deep Space Nine one was called Fearful Symmetry. The Arbiter was never produced, although there are episodes that are very similar. One of them being Dreadnought. Yes, and I believe the author was the other one. Yeah, so to an extent, Latent Image was a little bit like it. But yeah, so yeah, mainly Dreadnought. Anyway, so but Deep Space Nine, it was the ship that was similar to the story, and a book called Fearful Symmetry, which had Kira and the Cardassians in it. It had nothing to do with it except for the title. That was somebody else that published that book, not me. They just took the title. They liked it. The one that was for pocketbooks with Fearful Symmetry was about the Borg. But it became a Silly Trek story, which evolved into a Borg Silly Trek story, Perfect Plan. And the other part of it turned into In the Mirror of Silly. And the interesting thing about In the Mirror of Silly was a Cillian story. It was one of the short stories. It came out a week before they announced the title of In the Mirror Darkly on Enterprise. So literally the title was almost the same, except for one word. It had nothing to do with it, but it was weird that title was like, wow, okay, that's weird. Ours was a week before that, so we were really on the same page as season 4 of Enterprise. So yeah, we wanted them to continue. We were like, oh, they can't stop now. Well, they canceled it in February of 2005, and yeah, we were out of the loop then. 10 years later, they were thinking we were pitching again. We were not. That was somebody else. But interestingly enough, if this time travel story where they go back in time, that is the plot of Picard Season 2, appears to be that they've read Cillian's A Perfect Plan, the old Silly Trek Chimera story, in which somehow Q messes with Picard and pulls him back through time to go and meet us at college. But in the past, and then stop the present in a totalitarian regime kind of thing. So again, they're on the same wavelength with us. But I don't know that for sure, but that's what it's implied for the title. And we're okay with that, because as long as they reference us, that'd be funny. Yeah, because they'll beam down to the planet, they'll land in they'll go to the 21st century, they'll look up the Calcat show, and they'll be like, oh, what's this Calcat show? It's very interesting, yes. Also, Brown and Yeager. Oh, yes, they are the Grand Admirals here in the past. And here they'll have actors playing us. It'll be really surreal. And they'll get them wrong. Like, they'll mix up the nationalities or genders. And they'll make us look like Cheech and Chong or something. It'll be really bizarre. And Cheech and Chong will even be like, what? They weren't stars? What? Doesn't make sense. No, it's wrong. Anyway, so yeah, more making of. Just include this on the release.
So, we are nearing the end of the first act of this 2-act story, doing a Chimera movie at the pace of that all Transformers Rush episode. So, at the pace of that, even though we missed 2.5 days, we're going to catch up real quick Saturday. We're going to go right into part 2 and do that. So that's awesome. Starting into that. The second act is more complicated, as Marx Cards was told. He didn't really read much of it. He flipped through it a little bit. And the second act is where all the action happens. First act is more or less building up to the characters and the action. The second is the action. It might take a little longer to do, but we've done those with the Transformers thing. It's not that hard to adjust it for Star Trek things. It's really not that hard to adjust that. So, cool. I don't need to go on too much about that. This was the meeting room scene, and yeah, making of. And we didn't want to put any more making of previous, because at this point, previews on the channel until it's done, and then put the making there, because now we're into the movie. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's it for the evening of the 17th. September 18th. Cargo bay, transporter bay, room set scene. There was a party at your high school going on, so all day, so we couldn't film until now. It wasn't us, it was the park. Okay, so let's do this. Just thought I would show a brief behind the scenes moment of the bluegills here. Yeah, so we're starting up the bluegills, and here's the bluegills, but they're just like snakes. So they're little pipe cleaner snakes. Take them, get them at Michael's Stationery. Michael's. Wink. Go to Michael's Stationery, by the way. Okay, and they're well, not bluegills, they're pipe cleaner monsters. Yeah, so you take them, and just thought to show you this little behind the scenes thing just for fun. Assembling the unfinished bluegills from the last shot. But these are the finished ones. And here we are. Yeah, so grab some more of these. Okay, here's one that's assembled already. Twist them together. And then we go like that. And yeah, we threw the snakes out and they did not look scary before. So we're not doing that shot over again. I just want to do a little bit more, making them look more weird and twisted. Okay, now we have lots of tribbles. Okay, so that's kind of some behind the scenes of bluegills. It's the 20th. Looks like we have page 46, 47. Interior Chimera and the Klingon ship. Doing a little banter, a little brinkmanship going on here. So we have back on the Chimera bridge in orbit. And we have the line, the Admiral and the Captain were captured, says Cito. Should Cito be sitting during that? I don't think she should be. Hold on a minute. Is he in focus? I believe he is. Yes. He is in focus. I don't know if he's going to stay there. Okay, pause it for a second. So, welcome to Planet Hill set here. It's on top of the tables. Over there are the bridges. So let's do a scene. The Queen on the Planet Hill set. Page 55. Actually, it's 54. Space Spider from... If you want to buy one of these spiders, They're at the dollar store in a package. These are from Michael's. Yeah. They're little pom-poms. What they are, little mini pom-poms. Anyway, so this scene is on 54. It's right after Mahoney says, "Oh, your weapons are offline and all that." So this on the planet, the Queen, her saying her line here. So if we pull off the joke about the sweet candy, you kind of hear the sweet candy song playing. He's like humming it to himself. He starts because he's freaking crazy, basically. So you have Mad Mav, who's been on the planet a little too long. He's gone a little nutso. He's gone a little Heart of Darkness, sort of Rambo crazy. Because he's been on the planet a little too long and he's losing his mind. Let's see him as his noggin as a face is the problem. See, the thing behind him is a face. Okay, yeah, making of directions. The original script called for a scene where they all start running, which is not possible, and run to the shuttlecraft, and then the Queen just disappears, and Mikey Madmav and faces Curran, Coheed Harris, based on Curran, Towhead Harris, and they slap each other. And then the shuttle, Rosenko and Esther get out of the shuttle, and rescue them, take them back to the ship. The Queen disappears from the shot. So there's a moment missing. So it can't show them running and being pursued by the Tribbles as they jump into the shuttle and the Queen, I'm assuming, and leave, because the shuttle is about the third the size of this area that they're in. So if the shuttle lands right here, it would crush half the characters, and yeah, we want to show it because we built it. So yeah. So, but the Queen needs to get out of the shot somehow. She needs to decide, I'm going to leave for whatever reason. I'll ever say something like, "You have foiled my plans this time, Starfleet." I'm going to move her head. Okay, action. That shuttle is about to land on me. Ugh! How rude. All right, I'll let you Starfleet people escape, for now. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. All right, I'll let you escape, for now. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. I'll escape, for now. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. I'll have to escape. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. I'll let you escape, for now. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. I'll let you escape, for now. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. I'll let you escape, for now. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. I'll let you escape, for now. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. I'll let the shuttle escape, for now. That shuttle is about to land on me. How rude. I'll let you escape in the shuttle, for now. Okay. And then she sort of, okay, I'm going to show her moving off without showing my hand. Okay, cut. So another making of, another planet, sort of. So another making of, another. Here we are on the planet Hell set. It is appropriately 80 degrees up here, so we're gonna wrap for tonight. But we got some filming here on the planet. Basically, got the crew off the planet again. They keep going down to the planet and getting captured and returned and captured and returned. Understand that there's a later scene where they go to a transmitter, so they go back to the planet. I think there is, yeah. Yeah, they go back down to the planet again. Yeah, but we got to show the shuttle. We got to do a Starcrackers-like scene. And, yeah. Except for the... Yeah, except for the queen part that wasn't actually shot. She should have run away, because otherwise... Yeah, how did the shuttle land on her? Because I don't think it did. So she fled. She fled, yeah. They go back up to the planet, where they bring him a ship and they free Honey. The next scene on the bridge. The 2 bridge sets are built over there. So we had to build this over here because the bridge sets were built over there. And we wanted to not have to tear the bridge set down, just to put up some of the planet set. So yeah, that's what the planet set is for. Yeah, so they did not tear the bridge set down. We put the planet set here. So this time. No, I keep yawning. And now, so we're gonna put our heroes back on the ship. A lot of the second act, and peppered throughout the first act, does use elements of the David Gerrold script. In some ways, it's been altered to make it a next generation era 2402 story instead of probably the original script was probably like. I'm going to guess, stop it, kitty. I'm going to guess 15 years after the events of The Trouble with Tribbles. I'm going to guess that it's probably takes place in the 2380s, maybe before the Wrath of Khan. It's kind of what it seems to in the script. So it would have been during the second 5-year mission, or third. But yeah, that's where it would fit if they did that, and they didn't do that. Or it could be on the Enterprise A in the 2290s, but in this version, to put it with the Locarno and crew, and have it be them. Yeah, so to have it be 20% different from Gerrold's script, he will get credit in the credits. That about half of it is that script in some ways, but heavily changed too. We don't use any of his jokes really. But there is a scene coming up where it is kind of a scene from his script where Koloth has captured Scotty in his version. And they have to rescue Scotty from the ship. So that stuff about taking Scotty and capturing him and having him talk to him and the counselor and all that, that's from the Gerrold script. So, yeah. All that is in there. And the rescuing his warrior. And the going back and forth on the planet is in there. Stuff like that. The Tribble Queen wasn't really necessarily. The bluegills were not something he thought of in there. But in order for it to even work as a giant Tribble Queen, I thought that might be a clever idea, to have the bluegills are actually manipulating them like puppets. They literally are the creature controlling the puppets, and even the giant Tribble would not have sentience without bluegills inside her, which is an interesting idea. We got Towhead Harris back to the planet. He's scuffling with a Madmav, and then they fly off, leaving them on the planet. The original script was more ambitious. They ran to the shuttle. They jumped on the shuttle. There was the slap fight was going on, and we can't film that. They're plastic. But unlike Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who really swore off doing puppets after Team America, this is not that hard, at least. It isn't. So, so exploration of what we're doing so far. We're up to page 59. Should be nearing the end of this act. There should be another 15 minutes and then another 15 minutes. Because you've got 60 pages, and there's about 90 pages. So, so near the end of the act, but not quite there. And I don't think the act end is marked in here. It probably is 61. It's probably where the act ends. It just isn't marked. So I think it's after they save Mahoney. I think that's where it is. And then we go into the next act. So there's two. You got page 60, 61 roughly, up to page 91. That would mean there were 2 acts, and there are 15 pages each, and there are 2 acts. rocketing through the whole thing. And doing the pilot here in September, in late September. 55th anniversary of Star Trek. Pilot for the Chimera, and we get to see the shuttle. And the shuttle looks good, and although it is really bulky and hard to work with, and all the models got knocked around inside it, it did look good. The characters in it look good. It's not furnished on the inside, so they're all knocked around. They have no seats. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah. That was the evening. Hello. Marx cards. So I decided to run up here and show you. It's very exciting. It makes me calm just thinking about it. But I will turn off this light. Then I need to have the lights on while we're gone. So this is Planet Hell. Because it's hot up here. But also it can be adjusted. You can take the top off and then open this up and film inside this, making it a space set or whatever, and anything else. Just a couple of tables that have been turned sideways so they can be moved around randomly to do other stuff. It's now kind of clogged in here. Doing some This is Koloth's bridge. Here's a Koloth in his chair. And there is a evil. And the Emmett Tull / Chimera. This is the Tull bridge. We're on the Tull. In the script, it said that at one point that they went back to the Chimera bridge after this one scene, and I thought, why can't I just switch that so it's the Tull bridge? That would be more visually interesting to have it be like the other ship. We get to see it. So,
yeah, why not?
Yeah, it was like they went over to the other ship. Worf's trying to take over, sort of. But, no, I want to go down to the planet and get injured on the away team. Yes, I do. Here is Locarno's ancestor, who was... Well, not really, it's Edith Keeler. Rather, but it was funny. Slightly variant uniforms. Because it has been like 14 to 16 years since the events of Star Trek Chimera, and it is... so they've aged up a little bit.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, because it was 2388 in Chimera. Because it took us 14 years to get it done. 13 years.
It was possibly our longest single production.
Longer than Starcrackers.
Longer than Starcrackers. I mean, I don't know, if you count all, like the entirety of Transtech, was that...
Yeah, that was pretty long too.
But that was like 3 separate movies.
That was like 3 separate movies.
Yeah, but yeah, some of these have taken a really long time. But things appear to be quite streamlined now.
Streamlined, oh yes. Well, all Transformers Mush helped a lot because that year and a half that we were in lockdown, and I was like, okay, I had nothing else to do.
Yeah,
so,
can't go anywhere,
so why not do an entire Transformer series, and then about halfway through the year go, well, I'm done with that. I'll just do the second season right after that, and ended up doing the second season. And here is, we're on page 67 of a 90-page script. And it's only been 10 days. So this thing could actually wrap, well, fingers crossed, could wrap before October.
Yeah,
The pilot could wrap before October and then put it together and release it on Halloween.
Still got a little over a week of shooting there before you hit October, so why not?
Yeah. Let's do it.
I mean, that's assuming something doesn't go catastrophically wrong. All of your
cats pee all over the desk.
Catch fire or something, but... Although that would look pretty cool, though. But it would also not be good for the production. Or your house.
Yes, yes. Well, it wouldn't be like my brother Robert, whose paint set years ago in Canada burnt up the attic of the Canadian home. Because back then, the paints were really flammable. It was the 60s. So, yeah. There's a kitty.
Yes.
Kitty. Hi, kitty. Anyway, so, yeah, there's a little brief Marx Cards appearance on the set.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
So, yeah. We're all fully vaccinated, so just so you watch the video later on, won't be like we're...
I wear a mask every time I go out the front door. So.
Yeah, so...
I think it's a safe set.
So yeah, let's go get some dinner.
Lunch. Dinner.
Okay, yeah. September, was it 24th? Something like that. I think so. If it's not, then it's the other day. It's Friday, and we're on the set, and this is the scene on the Tribble planet after they beam down, and they are immediately trapped by Mad Mav and Harris, who are under control of the bluegills. But indirectly, they don't have bluegills in them; they're just under their control. But yes, so the security force they said they were going to be with them, as we'll see from the opening shot, have all been killed as we open the scene. So it's like, fuck, yeah. And they can't beam down, which I think is in the dialogue here, so I think we're good. Anyway, I'm going to start doing this. So, yeah. Page 73. Yeah, page 73. We wrapped production Friday evening here. I'm not sure what the time is exactly, but it's still light, so it's probably like 7. The tape is running out. We could go to the new camera or charge this one. I prefer to keep the film kind of the older camera, just because it looks more like guerrilla filming kind of thing. We did some of the planet stuff. Killed the character of Lynn. Brought us to the wharf. The wharf stuff was well done because it just flows. It's just wharf dialogue. He would say those things in that situation. That was quite cool. Sure. And yeah, we're gonna have to charge the battery on this thing. And so we'll see. Finally here. And next will be the scene with Uhura and Cyrano Jones and the transmitter. The meeting of the other characters. The crew goes down the planet anyway. Partly because of the transponder from the other one. They went after her. The transporter and pattern enhancer. Pattern enhancer wasn't in the script, but probably should have been. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't in the script that should have been. When you do the novelization of it, you can fix that. Anyway, so that's it for now, I guess. So this was just some Abrams lens flares back there. So there was a little. So this was just a little short snippet thing. Wanted to do more on the planet as they finish off the act. Why not finish off the act today? And the last act is the last 15 minutes. And this scene was not as technically hard as the other ones. Probably the Transformer thing helped with that because we could just do a battle scene. And it's not much of a battle scene because really they don't move too much. But at least, so we have the characters here at almost 9, I think. They're doing their thing, and we're closing off this scene on the bridge thing, the alien planet. I think there's pretty sure that there's more planet stuff. Maybe there isn't. We'll have to see. We'll see. I know they're on the ship a lot in the next one because they're trying to stop the Tribbles on the ship. But maybe it's the end of the planet stuff. I don't know. Combined, it's not a bottle show entirely. It's not a planet show entirely. It's kind of both together. I'd say it's more of a bottle show, but they occasionally go to the planet. Of course, it's silly that the entire command crew ends up back down on the planet, but that is typical of Next Generation. So, and Deep Space Nine, and Voyager to an extent. They do that all the time because the main characters have to go down to a planet. Otherwise, it would be the Lord X people that would go down to the planet. That's the Lord X cartoon. So in this story, the main people go down, but in the other episodes, it'll mainly be the Lord X people that'll go down there. The helmsman, the navigator, and the archaeologist, space or xenoarchaeologist, and the other ones, they'll go down to the planet in future episodes. The pilot, it's just these guys. The main ones doing something. And this is, I'm not sure if this is it for the planet set, but I'm sure it will be used. Let's see. Sure. That's pretty much it for the evening.
25th? I think it's the 25th. Here we are doing a horror scene on the ship. One of the giant creatures is in the hallway. Tribe is dog-like, but we don't have any dog-like ones. And the perspective is behind the holodeck door. So the holodeck door is opened. And they're gonna. So yeah, let's just do it. Okay. Everything seems to be there, and it's September 26th. And this is the last few scenes in the story. So let's do it. Dun, 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 dun.
That's a wrap. Completed. Pencil photography of the characters. Hopefully there aren't any reshoots of the pilot episode of Starship Locations. Even before the Chimera series, what was this Starship Locations? What was it? Was it going to be even before that? Sort of going to be a spin-off of Chimera, when Chimera was going to come out in 2012. But it obviously didn't. It took until 2019 for it to come out. So 2 years ago. 2 years ago, a couple of weeks ago. We started production on part 2, literally 2 years following the release of the last one, around the same time that Star Trek turned 54, now it's 55. So 53, now it's 55. So we can do more of these. The series begins. This is the 90-minute pilot. There have been some minor changes during the script, but for the most part, it's the shooting script. It's what happened. Nothing plot-wise got changed. There was a few added things just to clarify dialogue. Because when you do dialogue and you read it back, sometimes you realize there needs to be a little more explanation. And the show don't tell thing well with action figures. It is mostly tell. It has to be because they don't move. If they move a little bit, they move a little bit. So there has to be some of that. It is Sunday, middle of the day. I think it's early afternoon, it has been a shoot that has been roughly 20 days, maybe, because it started on a little under 20 days, so 16 days, 17 days, which is reasonable for a 2-hour shoot at this point. That's how long the Halloween special at Transtech took, and we were done about the same time last year, and then released it on Halloween. So, we had to put it together first before Halloween. We ought to be able to get this out by Halloween. I see no reason why we couldn't. So this will be out, and then it will be followed by other episodes in the series, the other 7, which are easier to film than this one. We'll see. The next one is more of a sort of a Groundhog Day type of story where events seem to be repeating themselves. It's a deja vu type of story. Science fiction has done that a few times, but we're going to do it. After that, there is a similar crashed starship story that's discovered. The Venture story. It was the Enterprise D originally, but it's a Venture. Go back to the Enterprise D, basically. Here there was a Cillian ship that they made up of Enterprise B. It didn't really matter. It was a Cillian planet. It wasn't the ship wasn't the plot. The bluegills and the tribbles were the plot. As for the David Gerrold script that this inspired, about half of this inspired, the dialogue was changed, but they're almost completely changed. But he does get credit. David Gerrold will get credit for the story. We're not getting paid, so he isn't either. Nobody's getting paid at all. This is for fun. It's a fan film. We can't charge anybody because we can't do any AdSense for it either. It's a fan film. It's a Star Trek parody. Starship Locations always was going to be. It was going to be a game, full-on game. It was going to be build your adventure game. These are the 7 episodes that came out of that, but there were also several storybooks. You've seen them as the Cillian Realms online, the Cillian Collectives. There's 4 of those. There's the other TMS Martial Sportiest collectives. Those two, Calcat and Marx Cards, Brown and Yeager, and other names that are us, basically. There's the On Location saga that just came out recently under the name Cal Hazel. It's Marx Cards. It's John Holter, I think, calls himself John Holter there. But that, again, is still more of the same. Because they figured, well, how would the Star Trek people in the future know anything about On Location? It would have had to have been published so they could have read it and showed it on the holodeck to Wesley Crusher. Well, this is what happened. It was released in 2021, and they found it, and they looked it up on their holodeck record. No, there it is. There's all of it. Cal Hazel and all that. The kids, Pine Hill and all that's in there. So they looked it up, and thus creating through not a manifest destiny, but a manifest creation. Manifest destiny is something else. Manifest creation, creating itself. Snake eating its tail, it creates itself. They go back in time. Q is interested in that. He goes back in time. Q decides these kids at Pine Hill are interesting, and they'll annoy Picard. So I'm going to send them back to Pine Hill, where they'll encounter the kids from Pine Hill, the Cillians. The Cillians. And then they will inevitably lead to them having Q powers, causing the Overlords to happen, causing the Cillian realms to happen, all because Q gave children Q powers like he did to Riker in that one episode. Except us being children at the time, teenagers, we were like, okay, we'll take the powers, because we would, and horrible consequences occur. Anomalies in space universes. The whole premise of Starship Locations, therefore, is an obvious Mary Sue fan film, but they're playing with the idea. They're not serious. I mean, come on. Oh, who's these guys? It is uncanny though. And then we go back to the original premise. Yeah, I know they Star Trek invented the bluegill thing and the Borg later. Bluegill thing. The Borg thing, loosely based on the bluegill and the Borg thing. But we also thought of that at Pine Hill, so yeah, we get credit. Anyway, so this is Starship Locations. This is a pilot. Mom? God. So this is the pilot. This is the thing. Stop! 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 You don't need to find Dan! Doesn't matter! God! Okay, so Starship Locations. This is the finishing the finale of this scene. Okay, this episode is done. And yeah. Okay, so I included that little it's not a post-credit scene, it's sort of a post-action scene just before the credits, because it really wouldn't be a Marvel post-credit scene. That would be within the realm of the story, because you kind of have to explain where Cyrano went, because otherwise he's just gone. So that's where Cyrano went. He was captured by Sam Clerk and Lucky Clerk and Shadow Dancer, and the General Chang in the background is a Critical Vitriol, and he is in the background. So, so yeah, so they're going to be in future episodes. So that it establishes, okay, in this universe, we have Picard, but we also have Sam Clerk. So when you write the inevitable novelization of the whole thing, Cillian Sam Clerk is supposed to be a different guy than Picard. Supposed to be a different guy, married to Sam Clerk. Even though the actual character that's loosely based on Steve Clark, Pine Hill teacher, even though it's loosely based on him, he's actually married to somebody that's younger than him, not older than him. But in this version, they're both Picard figures, which is funny because they're Cillian clones, and we've already established that they're Cillian clones of the planet anyway. So maybe it's just okay. They basically, other clones have captured Cyrano and are gonna send him on a. Well, apparently they've bet a bounty on him. They're gonna like do the bounty on him. So, I'll pay you double. You can't capture me. And it's like, yeah, it's unclear what's going on. Also, kind of established a little bit in that little scene that the towhead is not what he seems. Although we already kind of know that from the story that he's not what he seems. So so he isn't. He will come back as someone else that's familiar to the later stories. And himself, which will be interesting. So that'll be interesting. But also, Sam Clerk and Clerk lived similar lives to that of Picard and the Picard show, except there was Fontana and Clerks did their own thing, and they similar to the Clark story, to the Picard series. It's the Clark story. They kind of went parallel, and it was a spoof the other one. So in the book, it lets you just say Cillian Clark, and it'll make sense. It's funny because it's like, oh, okay, we didn't really forget about this guy. Unlike they did the Romulan bad guy at the end of Star Trek Picard, where they completely forgot that they had the Romulan bad guy on the planet, and he's like, they just, Romulan boyfriend, they just let him go. We don't know what happened to him. And I suspect, as some other fans think, they're not going to even address the synth thing in season 2 at all. They might vaguely mention it, but I don't think they're going to address it much at all. So, yeah. Which is the Cillian one. Yes. But inevitably, it does look like they are going to do the Cillian story, and that the alternate timeline, dystopian, totalitarian future. They keep saying dystopian, but he said totalitarian regime. What he said in the Picard show, and it looks like it's Cillian, and it looks like they're overlords that have taken over the continuum. So it isn't Q; it's the overlords that are kind of like Q. They have the Cillian children that have the Q powers because the Q were apparently foolish enough to give them to them. Thus explaining all the paradoxes where stories that we thought of as kids ended up on Star Trek because we wished them to be. Because we are Q. But not really. But it is uncanny though. And Zeldanian Nintendo system, the plague that infects the planet, is similar. The synth thing is similar. The joke about the thing about the joke, but the thing about Thaddeus Riker dying when he was like 18 of a synthetic virus from a synthetic thing, and he's not a synth. How would he get that? He couldn't get that. But if he was a synth, he totally could get that. So we're kind of saying that, oh yeah, Riker and Kestra, Riker and Troy didn't have children. They had them built. They're synths, and that's why they had to hide on the planet, because they had them built, which is funny. And they age like normal humans. So there was an infant version of Thad, and he grew up. Or the picture is a holograph thing. I mean, they did establish in that one episode that Soji was only 3. She had all her past was like just memory, even though she was like 20 something in the story. So it's entirely possible they put those memories in there and planted them in there. They're just going along with it. It's a little weird that they would, but yeah, they're not going to address it. But in this version, which you don't need to know about all that other stuff from Star Trek Picard, because it's not exactly the same anyway. But the idea here is that it didn't make sense for beyond middle-aged Riker and Troy to have children anyway. They got married out of convenience because they were over 50. And they were like, okay, well, we're not going to have kids anymore. That would be silly. Our children would be in the academy when we're like 78 years old. It wouldn't make sense. But no, in Star Trek, they age faster. It's like, no. You already made Mrs. Troy have a baby at 65. This is stupid. You ruined that. It doesn't happen that way. Nobody over 70 wants to have a kid. No. What they did is they built them. That's why they said, oh, I never have kids with you. Not biologically, but they built them. And later on, they built them. And one of them was given a synth virus that affected it. However, in Silly Trek, the end is not the end. And no one's ever truly gone.
And the Q with the powers of the Cillian space, no one dies, technically. So they keep coming back. And I addressed that in here. Towhead kept seemingly dying and then coming back. That was because there's either many versions of him or Cillian space just puts him back. So Thad Riker going to the Lucky and Clerk's universe, and going into that, being part of that, indirectly recreated him. Like he reproduced him. So Thad Riker will be showing up at the end of the series. I'm giving that away. That's why they put that little Easter egg in there with Thad Riker is going to show up eventually. Yeah, we shall see. Yeah, Thaddeus Riker. But yeah, yeah, the Easter egg about Kestra seeing the signal from her planet. Yeah, the home planet. So yeah, that's the finale. This is a while off, but yeah. See, unlike the Kevin Smith He-Man, which was edited strangely and had problems with its marketing, basically, and everybody flipped their shit. But in the new one, that's even more bizarre and looks more like Kingdom Hearts. Nobody's flipping their shit. They're all, oh, it's pretty good. So they like that one. And even though it's completely different, and they're all like a team, more like the Princesses of Power thing. They're more like that, and they don't mind that one. The new one. Yeah, I'll have to review that later. But yeah, it's the same thing here. It's like, okay, well, we're not going to market this as something it isn't. It's not. It wasn't Kevin Smith's fault. They marketed it a little wrong. It was the marketing people. He didn't control that. He just directed and produced a movie. The executive producer doesn't control the marketing. The executive producer of a showrunner, basically says, marketing, do this, and then goes off and does his own thing. He's not worried about it. He just puts the money out to put it together. That's what the executive producer does, showrunner. Now, in this case, on a fan film, you don't really have that. Production team and executive producers, so you kind of you don't do a Kickstarter, because that would be pointless. Marx Cards was involved in some Kickstarters that didn't go through, including the Iron Sky 2. And he is in the credits, but they didn't give him anything other than free DVD or something. But yeah, because they never released it here. It was only released over there, but now it's on streaming. So kind of like the Disney lady, ScarJo Hansen complaining about that. Paid, not getting paid. So yeah, so we had to have this little scene in the end just to establish it. Oh, okay, something sinister is going on behind the scenes of this story, and we get to meet the Cillian Clark and Sam Clark, his wife, his husband. We get to meet Critical Vitriol. The next episode is Critical Vitriol. So we get to meet Shadow Dancer again. And they just established he's Shadow Dancer. And he's based on the Shadow Dancer Larry Talisman, which is the stage name of a character from Jung Swan, ex-Jung Swan, who had 2 children that went there, and the ex-wife that went there was a master. And ex-husband and all that, and there's a big drama. So the daughter is the cheery Sandra Talisman, let's say. It's the daughter of Sandra Talisman. And hers was the inspiration for the bubbly sort of character, outgoing character that apparently in the Cillian series as well. So when she showed up, so that led to Mike McMahon on the Lower Decks saying, I want a character like that in my story. But also, I'm probably thinking of Tilly. I'm going to put a Tendi in. She's a little Orient girl. And this is 30 years later, so she's definitely middle-aged at this point in the story. But yeah, she's an Orient girl. But yeah, so that's where that comes from. It's not the Michael Gemmelt version, although in this version it kind of is the Michael Gemmelt version. I don't think McMahon met with Mike Gemmelt. I think the gamer from the other thing. I don't think he met with him. I think he just heard about it. Because it was a big news story. It was all over the internet. Everybody heard about it.
a guy allegedly pitching for Star Trek, and he didn't really. Was one of the people that said, no, he's not pitching for Star Trek. I know the rules. He's not pitching. It's the gist of that. We've been over that before. He's not pitching. That was back in the 90s when they allowed that stuff. They don't allow that anymore. Not since Enterprise. Not since Enterprise Season 4. About 2005. We stopped doing it. But yeah, the new show is very strict with its guidelines. It kind of shouldn't be. They should just let new people come in and write, but they don't do that. Gotta have an agent. Gotta be in the guild. Mike wasn't in the guild. Mike McMahon, I'm assuming, was in the guild. Now we have another Mike, Stauslowska. Oh, we don't, but he gets referenced in here too later on. But there's, yeah, the universe of Mike. It's kind of like in Voyager, there were like 3 Roberts. Robert Picardo, Robert McNeil, Robert Beltran. Okay, so anyway, this is the final tonight's filming episode, or wrapping up the episode, and here on the set, and of the pilots, and then we'll do the space effects, of which there aren't very many, so that should be easy. There aren't very many space effects. Yeah, the dailies look great, and it's a wrap. So we will see what the space effects post-production stuff looks like. Try to get this out by Halloween. A little before Halloween, so that we can watch it on Halloween. Ha ha! But yeah, we'll go on to the other episodes, which will not take as long. It's the pilot. Yeah, because they're different. And they're very talky, but on purpose, because the new Star Treks are very kinetic, going, things happen, things blow up, that kind of thing. We can't do that, so yes, they're very talky. Like the Transformer. The Transformer thing has some battles. Yeah, so this whole series is not being marketed, well, not being marketed at all, but it's not being sold as an action series. It's a thought-provoking classic Trek / TNG concept where they think things out, figure them out instead of going in fisticuffs. Although chopping off the head of the guys and then impaling the computer. Well, it wasn't very violent, really, very cartoonish. And we get our PG rating by having Uhura say, "They don't know shit" at one point. That's the only reason it's PG. It really isn't at all scary, but that's fine. It's fine. Yeah. So then they suggest of course, the nature of the aliens being kind of froofy versions of the Trill, and having all these multicolored characters, and the bad guy being divine, kind of suggests that the bad guy, the gay bad guy, is a bad guy, but the gay bad guy, but there are other people that are good guys that are clearly gay, so it's fine. Yeah, there are other ones that are good guys. They're good guys too. Basically, the entire crew is just gender fluid and doesn't care. Metrosexual, they don't mind. The black dude hit off on the white dude. They were roughly 40, so it was fine. The Tam character is described as gender fluid, Tamara, the Carno, described as gender fluid. She's kind of like the girl from Discovery, who identifies as them or they, although that only gets used once in the whole story. I like that the captain the lady captain is referred to as yes sir instead of yes ma'am when they return. So Dax is kind of either or anyway, because Trills naturally are either or, but they didn't actually figure that when they did Star Trek originally, although the first Trill was completely different, and they explained that by saying there's a renegade group of Trill that we never see again after TNG, and they have the funny head appliances. They're a slightly different group. They're the group that met up with the Bluegills and messed with everything on the planet. So the Trill are related to the Bluegills, and the Borg are also kind of related to the Bluegills. But yeah, they're all kind of related.
But yeah, and that's why the Trill were immune to the bluegills, because they already had a symbiote. Kind of like the symbiote thing in Venom and Carnage on that Venom show. The Spider-Man spin-off thing. I have not seen it. So, yeah, I thought I would ramble on more about the final closing of this episode. And, yeah, awesome. So, check this out. Yeah, watch the dailies. It looks good. Yeah, so, yeah, I did it in, what is it, the 26th. Started on the 8th. So it was almost 20 days. It was 18 days later. 18 days later. It's not bad. As I said before, it was the same shoot as a year ago when we did the Halloween special, Transformers. Yes. Which was not really a Halloween special. It just happened to be a creepy episode, so we shot it first. We shot it out of order, shot that one next, and made it in order because once it is released, then it's in order. So, yeah. So the first season of all Transformers Watch, you have to watch Corrosion of War Without End 1 through 7 to get it. But all the other ones afterward, you don't need to watch them in sequence, but you should. It's kind of recommended. And then season 2, yeah, you kind of do need to watch them in sequence because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. So 3-part Scythe of Destiny, and then the other ones wouldn't make sense if you watched them out of sequence. So yeah, watch it in sequence. Old Transformers watch. I also watch Starship Locations, in sequence. Yeah, that won't make sense. It's serialized. Episodic, but serialized. Strange Worlds. Similar to Strange New Worlds. But we are not involved in Strange New Worlds or in Orville Season 3. But if Cal reappears on Discovery Season 4, then Cal reappears. We'll see. They clearly watched my channel. And then they included the Guardian of Forever, and they got a guy that looked like Brian Story to play the Guardian of Forever. It's like, okay, yeah, you guys are clearly watching Silly Track. You know. You do. You totally know. You know us somehow. Why don't you just hire us? I'm my own agent. Marx Cards is his own agent. So you hire me and work for Star Trek. That's how it works. Okay, let's... lights. So, yeah. Cleat. Our space on the Chimera 2. Chimera 2. Emmett Tell. So, yes, it's set on the 29th. Space effects footage shots. It has to be shot low light so that I can't see all the wrinkles in the space set background. Which if you look closely at old TNG, you can totally see it. Yeah, high def TNG, yeah, they had to change all the backgrounds. Because it was 80s and looked good on video, but when they blew it up, yeah, but it was quaint and charming back then. So I go for the original. I didn't really buy any of the remastered TNG. Kept using the same models over and over again. Yeah. But yeah, these two studio models were designed for the for higher def shots of the ships and therefore larger models. Yeah. This is this camera is sitting on the Chimera, and here's the Emmett Till. We'll go over the ships later, but the Titan, as you can see, is the original Titan from the movie. Yeah, so here we have the Titan from the original movie, and it's considerably smaller.
actually. It's kind of the equivalent of the Galaxy class being larger than the G1 Constitution class. It's kind of the same thing going on there. Yeah, the heart-shaped bridge. I don't think at any point these undergo any kind of a saucer step, although they can. Yeah. So you can like take the saucer off. Yeah, saucer. Now we'll have trouble putting them back on again. The other one, also the saucer second comes off. And it was popping off all the time during filming. There it goes. Material saucer section. It's a little goofy because the Klingon ship in the story appears to be what originally is going to be like a bird of prey or something, but it has to be a Derridex or a D7 to be a threat to these what equivalent of as a battleship, a version of the Chimera and the other similar class ship. You have basically your Adventure or Aventine class Chimera, and then you have to scale really technically. If you were gonna like scale up, the Titan would be like this, so it'd be a little bigger than so you go like that. So it'd be almost as big as that one over there. The one over there would be dreadnought-sized, large. They'd both be roughly between Galaxy and Ambassador class in size. Very, very large ships, destroyer class ships. Full carrier class ships, actually, not destroyer. They always make that mistake. There was like Fanthing Online doing that too. Yeah, there was a guy saying that the Akira class is a carrier. Usually a carrier in a battle thing. A carrier ship is larger than they meant a destroyer. The Akira class could be a destroyer. It's a smaller ship. It's an escort destroyer type of smaller ship. Whereas these are dreadnoughts, obviously, and they're similar to like how the Picard show like upscaled everything, like the Discovery one did, and so they're influenced by that. So you have these ships that are basically they would be carriers. They have multiple nacelles and they're huge and they're similar in size to that Galaxy X ship from All Good Things, in size, roughly a little smaller than that. So they have big ships. And on the Star Trek Online, the Chimera class ship that Nog commands, Captain Nog commands, only 9 years in the future from this point of this story, 2402, that's sort of be 2409, 2410, 7 years, 8 years. He already has the destroyer class ship. So it's not Chimera class. That is, in this version, it's the Emmett Till is named after Harry Tubman class. The Chimera is Adventure class or Aventine. Should be smaller, but isn't. It's made bigger. Oh well. So the Klingon ship really wouldn't be any threat to them, but maybe the alternate Koloth is crazy, and he wants to take on the 3 ships in the space fleet, the Armada and all that. Sure, why not? But in visual effects wise, I can make it look like there's more Klingon ships there to fight the fleet that shows up. So even though they're not actually going to fight. So get your hopes up for a space battle. In this version, you're not going to really get it in this episode. We're not going to do space battle in this one. It's a thinking story, fighting the bluegills and the evil, the brainwashed tribbles on the planet. It's not really about space battles, which makes it different, which is the reason we want to do it, because it's different. It's like, we're going to do something different. It's not going to be about just going pew pew, bang bang, blow up attack the bad guys and blow them up and stuff. No, it's more like strategy and stuff. It's more of a brinkmanship thing. More TNG than the other ones. And then Picard even was. The Picard show was constantly blowing stuff up. It's like, no thinking story. No, we're not going to do that. No space battles in this one. Yeah, so we had to make the Titan look bigger than it was. Match those studio models that are bigger. Sure, we could have made studio models that were the size of the Titan or slightly larger. Very much larger. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. Doing some behind the scenes on the space sets. Doing all of the behind the scenes of all the shots of the ship, unless there's some unusual thing you need to throw in there. All the 7 episodes, space effects, done all in one shot, so that we can go on and do all the other ones later, and not worry about the space stuff being done. So the Chimera, lots of shots of the Chimera. We'll have to look at all the footage now. So I won't put everything away yet. Yeah. Okay, this is a pickup line. I suppose we could do 2 sets of pickup lines in this if you wanted, but probably not. Because, yeah, there was another one with Koloth in the shuttle bay, but I don't think we're going to bother picking that up because it was redundant to have Koloth talk. There was a shuttle bay scene, and he basically went on about that. We don't need to redo that just because it was said in the captain's log that he was going to be on the ship. So we don't need to redo that. The scene that I want to redo here is on page 82. There is no footage of this scene because we cut Crass out of the scene. She's not in it. Uhura has her lines. But then it makes Worf's lines after Astor asked the question, how did you get out of there or whatever. So these 3 lines that are Rashenko and Crass should be Worf. He should be saying these 3 lines. So that's what he's going to do. This is making of. I'm going to stop here and then do it.